welcome to my channel. Welcome back to my channel. Um, Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the elderly, dementia, Alzheimer's, and when they stop eating. And I don't mean totally stop eating. I mean they slow down eating. Because if they totally stop, you have to really get them into the hospital and have them assessed. If they're not eating or drinking anything, they may be on the final steps. But when they begin to slow down eating and don't eat much, or eat only specific things, very sweet things, and drink sweet drinks and things like that, but really don't eat much off of their plate, that could relate to many different things and for many different reasons. And I can't cover them all, but I'll cover a few of them. One of them is they're having problems with their swallowing. And they may have even forgot how to swallow properly. You can get a swallow test done, called basically a swallow test, and it can have a one done at home, or you have to go into the hospital or the doctor and have them do a professional one, which is very different. Another reason they will slow down eating, and this is a very unusual thing if you think about it. It's not that unusual, but if you think about it, but it doesn't enter our minds. When they stop eating a lot and they lose weight, and if they've got dentures become loose. Another reason could be the color of the plates. Yes, the color of the plates. Imagine you've got, your brain is not seeing things as they are. It's called a depth perception issue and a color perception issue. You have a white plate and you have a fried egg on it, or mashed potatoes. We see those and we know exactly what it is. But for dementia and Alzheimer's, they might see it this way. It's a very complex thing. Hard to understand. But what you can do is buy plates of different colors, like red plates. Red and blue plates are very significant for Alzheimer's and dementia patients. At least that's the common thinking now. So you could put mashed potatoes and eggs on it, and they will see them correctly. It won't mix in. But it doesn't work all the time, because if you've got slices of tomato on the red plate, that's going to confuse them too. And what if you just have solid plates of one color? You want to try to get a plate that has a rim on it. And if it's got a rim on it, they'll be able to focus more. For God's sake, don't get black plates, because black plates can totally throw them off. Or mixed color plates, or highly designed plates. That can confuse their brain entirely. Another problem is if you overcrowd the plate with too much food too close to each other. You want to try to have a larger plate that has everything separated far away on the edges. And if you've got extra things like bread or toast or muffins or whatever, put them on a different plate. Try to make it look like less food. Let's say you make them 2 eggs. Um, fried eggs. Put one egg down on a plate, put the other right on top of it. Make scrambled eggs. Make sure to pack it up as close as you can, and try to keep things separate from it. But pack it up so it looks like less. Because when they eat, they will eat a certain amount and think they were eating too much. There's too much food here when there's not. There's 2 eggs, they think there are 10 eggs. So you have to be careful of that. Try to keep the separation. Try to get a plate that has different colors. Now, for my dad, red works best for most things. But sometimes I'll use a white plate if I've got some other different kind of contrast food that contrasts, like a slice of pie or something. You can see that. But if I'm going to have mashed potatoes and lighter colored food, I want to keep it on a red plate. And I certainly want to get one, have a plate with an edge on it. Same with a bowl or anything else. You don't want to have too many mixed colors or paisley colors or psychedelic colors, because that can confuse them. Another problem with eating is they're just not hungry for anything that doesn't have flavor, and a lot of things don't have flavor to them. It's like, if you notice, some old people will always grab, or some young people too, will always grab the salt. I don't care if it's salted pork. They will grab the salt before they even taste it and salt it. They're not tasting flavor the way they used to. So they want something that's got a lot of flavor, like a milkshake or candy or cake with frosting. That's what they would like, and that's what they will eat most of. And so you have to consider that. You want to have as much of a flavorful food as you can, and provide it to them in a small amount. What looks like a small amount. It can be the same amount everybody else eats. You just haven't spread it out. Our natural inclination is to make the plate look like in America, make the plate look like it's full of food. It's enough food. It's value for our money. But in Alzheimer's and dementia and elderly, it plays a very different role. I needed some popcorn. So one of the things you have to pay attention to what they're eating and what they're not eating. Sometimes you'll notice they'll eat everything on their plate except the meat. They may have trouble eating meat, or they chewing it. It's got to be very soft food. Not for everybody, but for a lot of them. They don't want to chew on that. And for some reason, they don't want that meat. Chicken, if it's too tough, or meat, if it's too tough. Even if you've got meatloaf that's just completely covered in sauce and very tender, they will eat everything else on their plate and only touch a little bit about that, of that. And you'll buy them hamburgers from McDonald's or something, and they'll eat the inside. They won't eat the bread. So things that they were eating their entire life, they're just not able to manage that anymore for some reason. But if you pay attention to what they're eating, and then you can plan perhaps how to configure their diet. And one of the things I suggest is, if they will drink a protein drink, a nutritional drink, like Boost or Ensure or Fortify from Kroger, then you can plan more around that. The thing about Boost and Ensure and Fortify, even the high protein versions, they have different calorie amounts and different protein amounts. And people make the mistake of thinking only about the protein and not enough about the calories. Because if they're getting enough protein but not enough calories, a lot of that protein goes to waste. If they don't get enough calories, they're going to lose weight. And that's when you start seeing them decline physically. They're not going to be hungry too, because if they're not out doing active things or being very active, walking around the house, doing things, going out to the garden, walking around the neighborhood, whatever, which they won't be, most of them, but when they get up out of bed, come out, sit down in the chair and watch TV all day, they're not getting enough activity, so they're not getting enough to burn off the calories and to empty their stomach and make them hungry. The more active you are, the hungrier you are. If you're inactive, you're not going to be very hungry. Unless you're me. I can sleep in bed all day, wake up, eat an entire pizza. But I can't get my dad to do that. So if you can get the Boost and Ensure, and that's what Boost is, it is a supplement to their meals, what they're eating. That's why the calorie count's not that much. Now, if you got 250 calories to the entire bottle, that's not enough. Even for a frail, thin, old person, that's not enough per meal, because you want to try to you want them to maintain their weight, not get too thin, not lose too much muscle mass. They need to have the protein and the calories to back it up. Because you don't have enough calories, a lot of that protein just gets flushed out of your system, not used at all. Protein needs calories together to do the work. And if you don't have that protein, you don't have that calories, they're going to lose weight. And it's really a sad thing to see. And it worries a lot of people, because you see them getting thinner and frailer and whatever. So what you want to do is think about how much calories they're getting. And for a 90-year-old man who's short, maybe 5'5", or something like that, inactive, elderly, you need about 1,300 calories a day. That's the bare minimum to maintain their weight. It's the bare minimum. Usually you want to try to get 1,600 to 2,000 calories a day. I mean, you don't want them to gain weight, get fat, like some people, but you want them to maintain their weight, not lose weight, not get thinner and frailer and weaker. So you want to plan around the supplement drink. If they're eating very little real food, you need to have that supplement have enough calorie behind it, count behind it to warrant having the amount of protein in there. But like I said, Boost and Ensure, they're there to supplement your meal, give you the nutrition and all that and the protein. So, but if they're not eating much, you're going to have to rely more on those kind of things and making smoothies and other things that have protein and calorie count in it. So, one of the things I do is I buy Fortify from Kroger. it has more calories, but has a little less protein than Boost or Ensure High Protein. It's 350 calories, which is the minimum, basically, that a person should have sitting down to a meal 3 times a day. If you have 3 meals a day, or plan around breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you need a minimum, or they need a minimum of 350 calories. And it's going to have enough protein behind it. Don't worry so much about how much protein count is in these things, even the high protein. You want to have the higher calorie count. So if you're relying mostly on Boost and Ensure and Fortify, you want that backed up with calories. But they can survive on nothing but Boost and Ensure and Fortify if you have that calorie count behind it to warrant the nutrition and all that. But that gets a little bit harder to do, to have them drink 3 of those every day. And you need more than 3 if you're using the lower calories in Boost and Ensure. That's why I use Fortify. If my dad isn't eating this meal, he's going to drink this glass. Now, a trick I have is I get a 16-ounce bottle of Fortify. I put it into a blender, add a cup or a half a cup, depending on what I want to accomplish, of milk, whole milk or 2%, doesn't matter. It's better with whole milk though, because you're going after those calories. Pour that in there, and then I add a half a scoop, a quarter to a half a scoop that's provided in it of protein powder. It's got a lot of protein in that powder, and it adds more calories to it. The milk adds more calories to it, and I blend that up very well. Get that up, and it'll thicken up, and it'll get bigger like a milkshake. And I'll give half of that. It'll fill about a 12-ounce glass, half of it, to my father, and he'll drink it all. And then the rest of it I can store for later and use again, or blend it later. I take the blender thing and put it in the refrigerator, and then blend it again later. It won't stay foamy for long when you re-blend it, but you can also take it, just pour it directly in to a glass and give it to them. And that's going to give them a lot of protein and a lot of calories, and for that one meal. You don't have to do that 3 times a day. Give them that 3 times a day. But if you can give it to them once, a full glass of that once, you're ahead of the game. But what if they won't drink the full glass? Tell you what, we got a 10 to 12 ounce glass. Like this dirty glass here. They won't drink all that, maybe. Get yourself some old-fashioned juice glasses, orange juice glasses. They're usually about 5 ounces, give or take. Think about it, 5 ounces. That's basically half of that. Fill that up, give that to them, put it down in front of them and say that's a treat when they ask you what it is. And they will drink it all. And then later, give them another glass of it. Again, don't tell them what it is. Don't tell them it's a meal replacement. Don't tell them it's Boost. Say it's a treat or something. And they will take it, even if they had it just not too long before. But you can space these out. And one of the tricks I do when I get my dad up first thing in the morning to get his medications, I bring him into the kitchen, glass of water, this size, which he really won't drink all of, but I make him do most, takes his pills, and then a juice glass of Boost or Ensure or Fortify. Now, I use Fortify, and I've explained why. It's a higher calorie count, and I want all those calories. So I give him a little half. That's one of those glasses, about a half a bottle of Fortify. I never give my dad the actual Fortify or Boost or Ensure bottle, because then they know what it is. And then they say, well, I don't need that. I'm not hungry. I don't want him to think of that as food. So I add this to this. And when he takes the medications, so after he's done that, he gets it up and says, oh, what's this? I said, well, you need something on your stomach. Some of your medications need you to take it with breakfast. Oh, okay. Oh, this is very good. Every morning says the same thing. Goes, man, that's very good. What is this? And so forth. I don't tell him exactly what it is, but I say it's good for you. And it's a treat for taking all those medications. And he drinks it. That gets him through that. And then in the afternoon medications, if he's not eating much, I give him another glass of that. And so that's a bottle of Fortify. That's 350 calories. I got breakfast covered. And if I can get him to eat lunch that I've made, that's another meal. That's more calories. And if he's not really hungry for dinner, a full glass of that whipped up, that's the third meal and a little bit more. And then he'll even ask me, do we have a donut? Do we have some cake? Do we have something sweet? Even after he's had that. So that's how I get around the times when he's not eating a lot. But red plates and blue plates and all that can get a bit hard to figure out sometimes. What color is best today with what I'm making? I use the red plates for eggs and all this other stuff. I keep everything spaced out as far as I can and stacked up so it doesn't look like a lot. And he will eat it. He might not eat it in one shot. He'll sit back and he'll say, I'm not very hungry. And another trick I've done is, by the way, is I make him toast. Slice of bread, toasted, split in half. I always put butter on it. Even though I know he likes it best with jelly or jam on it. I give that to him first. Then later, when he's pretty much finished, and he hasn't really touched the toast, I look down and say, would you like some jelly on that? And he'll say, yeah. No, so I'll put some jelly on that. So it's got butter on it already. That's got calories in it. And then I put the jelly on top of it. That has calories on it. Additional calories, and he'll eat that. I don't put the jelly on first because that's the first thing he's going to start eating. And if he eats that first, he won't eat much of the rest. The things we have to learn about our loved ones and work around our little schemes to get them to stay alive and healthy. To try to avoid completely white plates. And if you want to figure out if they like blue or green or red, go buy those temporary plates, those picnic plates over at the grocery store. These are disposable plates, different colors, and see which one works best for your loved one and see if it makes a difference. It might not. Not everyone has that same issue. Or eventually they will, down the line. But a lot of pauses on this because I have to cough or sneeze. It's the seasonal allergies. Anyway, this is how we have to do it. It's a lot of work. You want your loved one to eat. You don't want them to become frail and too thin, because the thinner they get, the more they lose weight, they become bone thin and very weak. They got no padding on them, so if they fall or something, they're more likely to break something. Us big fat people don't break very easily. Of course, we're not old and elderly. You get very frail when you get an advanced stage. But if your loved one is young or old and they begin to not eat a lot, there could be those different reasons. It could be their teeth, their dentures. It could be swallowing problems or throat irritation. It could even be constipation. One of the biggest warning signs of constipation, fecal impaction up there, even though they might still be going a little bit, they might have a fecal impaction, is lack of appetite, lack of hunger. So you have to be mindful of that and keep your eye out on that and see how much they've got coming out. Invest a little bit of money in what I recommend personally is Kroger's Fortify. Cheaper than Boost and Ensure and all that, but that's not why I buy it. It's because it's got higher calorie count. It might not have as high a level of protein, but that doesn't matter. How much protein they're getting from that alone is enough, but throw in that protein powder and the milk, and then you're satisfying most of what they're going to need. And if that helps it, shouldn't just boost it. It replaces a meal. Each bottle of Fortify is a meal replacement. And the boost version of the extra high protein, high calorie is very expensive in relationship to all these others. Now, I know they have other ones, Premier or whatever. I don't use those. You can get those at Sam's Club or Walmart. But something like that, or you can make your own. You can blend your own, make your own smoothies. If you can do that, add fruit and all this, as long as you're going to get that calorie count up. But you got to have protein. You got to have calories. The protein repairs the body, keeps it going. And if you got calories and not enough protein, there's not a lot going on to help to keep them healthy. And the same thing applies if you've got too much protein, which is bad on the system because it can come out in different ways in the urine. It can come out and skew certain results, test results. You have to have the calories to back up that protein. So if you don't have enough of both, you're not doing justice for your loved one. Invest in that, in Kroger Fortify or something with a very high protein count, or mix your own. Use that protein powder to get the protein up if you're making it, if you're using just fruit and all this. But try to figure out how much calories. Try to keep them 1,300, 1,400 a day. Not a meal, a day. If you can get them to drink Boost or Ensure or Fortify or your special mix with the protein powder twice a day, even if it's in different amounts, small juice glasses over the day, and then have them eat a real meal, a full meal, you've covered all the bases. And this another side benefit of using the small juice glasses, if they're not drinking enough water, Instead of giving them this glass, put the small glass out full of water or whatever to help hydrate them. They will drink that entire small glass, but will only sip about this much of this glass. They take their medications, they drink about that much. But with a small glass, this isn't much. They finish it all. And then replace that small glass with another glass of water. 2 of those equals 1 of these. But it doesn't look like it. Not to them. It doesn't enter their brain that way. So that's a benefit to that too. So this is a little trick I think you can try to help keep your loved one healthy and stop them from losing too much weight. It is a battle dealing with not eating. And this is a potential way to help you get around that. There will come a stage when they'll stop eating entirely and stop drinking entirely or almost entirely, and then that's at the end of the road. If there is no other underlying condition, that's pretty much the end stage. But don't assume that they're in the stage until you've tried everything. And try my solution with the Fortify, the protein powder, the milk, the smoothies. Because they won't eat the meatloaf, they'll eat some pie. And they'll drink a milkshake. And you can also do that exact same drink, but add ice cream to it and make it a real milkshake. And they'll love you for it. Believe me. Anyway, thank you for visiting my channel and putting up with me again. Talk to you again later.